Afternoon. Thank you for joining us in. Today, not only are we live here in Manhattan, New York City, but we also are live on the World Wide Web. And I'd like to thank my friends and family from around the country, around the world that tune in every week to watch the show. As you know, I have an appreciation for the arts and music, and today is no exception for the guests that I have for you today. You don't want to miss the performance that's coming up today's show. We have Prince Igor, and he is originally from Russia, and he moved to the United States in 1974. He's a classically trained pianist. He does jazz opera style of music, and also with him, as his accompanist, is the jazz singer Angel Rose, and she'll be out in a few minutes after we have a chance to talk with Prince Igor. Thank you very much for coming in today. How are you this afternoon?
Marvelous.
Thank you for coming in and spending the time for us this afternoon. It was really great for you to join us. Tell us a little bit about yourself. You grew up in Russia, and then you came here in the early 70s.
That's correct. I was born in Russia, Moscow. My father was born in Moscow. And I left Russia in 73 and arrived to United States in New York City 1974. That was my dream to come to New York City because I always consider myself jazz musician. What can say less when New York, this is a capital of the world of jazz. And I would love to come to United States and play with the best musician possible.
Yes.
Not what I thought I was ready then, but it works out well and a very quick. I started to be around, and I met top musicians like Dave Liebman, Lenny White, Errol Gardner, Joe Zawinul, Brecker Brothers, you name it, and all in person, because I can't say what I'm very shy guy to be introducing myself. So, and my dreams definitely came true. Soon enough, I have already a record contract, and I performed through a band in the Village Gate. It was one of the most important jazz clubs in New York City, playing my music because my record was just released, and I was very lucky to have Dave Liebman and Larry Schneider on stage, and I was a leader then.
That's great. Now, is it, the record was released, the music was released here in the United States?
Correct. I was recorded here, it was released here, and but soon after that, I opened a recording studio called Prince Enterprises or Prince Studios, and that's why I call myself Prince Igor. But it was even before, when I was little, 2 years old. My mom was playing like a gramophone, and that was a Knyaz Igor, Russian Prince Igor opera by Broderick, and I was very good. I studied almost from the beginning to the end, and that's how I got that little nickname, but I use it afterwards.
It fits you very appropriately. Now, were you educated in Russia in music, or did you study the music here in the United States?
No. I went to different school of music since age of 6. So it was a really, really serious schooling. Moscow Conservatory, this is one of the best in the world. Great teachers and great atmosphere of great people. Like you're going inside of the Moscow Conservatory and you see on white marble Rachmaninoff, Prokofiev, those kind of names they went through that same school what I did. So I'm very proud and I'm very lucky what I was part of it.
Did you always know that you wanted to study jazz music?
No, absolutely not. Believe it or not, first time in my life when I heard jazz, I was like 12 years old. No, 15 years old, I'm sorry. When I was 12, I heard Elvis Presley. So I started to love Elvis Presley before I fell in love with jazz. And since then, I know, when I discovered jazz for myself, it took me a while up to this point, because loving jazz, it's not always, how I call it, mutual. You have to study hard, and you have to find inside of you that ingredients, what they call it here, you can groove. You know what I mean? If you cannot groove, if you don't, you can have best schools in the world. That's why a lot of classical musicians, they cannot play jazz.
Oh, interesting, because I follow Herbie Hancock, and I know he was classically trained, and then he switched over to jazz. But I'm not trained in music to know what that transition is. I wanted to. I did take some violin lessons, and I wanted to be a jazz violinist, but I thought just even classical violin is
it's a very difficult instrument, a violin. By the way, only people with the good ears can be accepted. As a matter of fact, when I was trying to get on my piano school, they said, no, you have a good ear, let's go violin. I said, no, I'm not going to violin, piano.
Okay.
And I'm glad.
Well, why don't we hear some of our guests, I would like to have you perform a little bit more, maybe a song.
Of course, what I'm here for. I would like to introduce a great singer, good friend of mine, the girl who put up for many, many years studying my songs and give me a lot of inspiration. Well, do all-round applause, Angel Rose.
Angel Rose, welcome. Welcome to the set. Oh, such a lovely lady.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Prince Igor and Angel Rose.
Just a dream which is coming and going, then ends. Searching for truth is so hard to conceive when there's so many things make no sense. So hard to conceal how long it would take to succeed. Trying to leave the uncertain sea, going through burning hell yet. It's not just black or it's white or it's gray. Our future is not being said. It's not just black or it's white or it's gray. So alive isn't dry, but it's wet, not dry. It's wet, it's wet. Or it's gray, so alive.
laughing? Wasn't that wonderful?
Beautiful music.
Wow. It's just, you feel it in your soul. Feel it in your soul. Congratulations. Thank you so much, Angel. And we look forward for you coming back later in July. Yeah, thank you.
So, what the next?
Tell us a little bit more about yourself. You mentioned that you came here to.
In everybody's life, there's a few very, very important, memorable moments.
Yes.
So,
Just like today is for us.
yeah, of course. This is a highlight because between me and you, this is a material what we're doing. It's kind of fresh for audience. And right now, I think we're totally ready. That's why already we plan to perform Carnegie Club 13th of July.
Oh, wonderful.
And
Is this open to the public?
oh, yes, welcome. It's 156 West 56th Street between 6th and 7th Avenue. Show starts at 9 o'clock. Welcome, it's free.
Oh, wonderful.
This time. Anyway, a couple of more important engagements in the future too. I will bring up. I was commissioned to be musical director for Waldorf Astoria Couture Week in Waldorf Astoria Grand Ballroom, and that's already the third year. So I'm programming a kind of musical art part of the fashion show. So that will be important since it will be under umbrella of UNESCO and the United Nations session will be open. So head of the states will be present on that performance. And so I'm very excited and looking forward to do so.
Now, this is your third year, you said, doing
So the third year, but this one in September 15 through 17. It will be a Grand Ballroom, Waldorf Astoria. You can, that's all advertised. And
how can we find you? Do you have a website or?
Yes. I'll leave all the information how to get there because I will put more, including this stuff.
Okay.
Anyway, so as I said, a few very memorable moments. The earliest, what I consider important, when I was the first year in the Moscow Conservatory, it was the same year when Igor Stravinsky, another Igor, by the way, was allowed to return to Russia after 50 years of absence. He lives in Paris, he lives in New York, and Khrushchev, remember the head of Communist Party then, invited him, and he was already like in his late 80s. So when I saw him first, and because I was a student, I got like a ticket free to go and see him. And I was very excited. So I was looking at the very frail man who was such excitement and fear I saw in his eyes because that was his early work when he composed when he was young boy, like in 20s. And now he's in 80s. And he looked to the score and like he was so disoriented. First, what he started to conduct, orchestra didn't need him because they knew it by but he was so excited. He was sweating like say, God forbid he will, if he gets sick like a heart attack on the stage. But he survived more. He invited students to come back in a dressing room just to talk. And of course, I make sure I went there half an hour after the show was over. Was totally different man in like a robe, very relaxed, smoking a cigarette with the mouthpiece. He's talking like very old Russian. Okay, folks, you know, I also remember myself being a student, and I also was sitting in a balcony, and I saw how Pyotr Ilyich Tchaikovsky conducted his first piano concerto. This is very memorable. Such different ages, epochs connect.
And that's one thing that's great about music because it does transcend against, you know, of different, you know, generations and nationalities and things.
But of course, the last thing in Russia, what I really remember, besides me leaving Russia, for good, I hope, was performing for the Brezhnev. Because jazz was underground. Officially say, we democracy, we allowed people play. No. But I was one of the few privileged what I was invited to perform for the diplomatic corps event.
Oh, my.
And I thought,
Keep going.
yeah, I thought, okay, how long we're going to perform? Like a show, half an hour, half an hour, 40 minutes. And it was difficult to get there, like 2 hours going there with the checkups, with Kalashnikov, our document. Finally, I set up the band already there. Everybody, diplomats, they very, very under influence. But they walking like trying to play what they cool, but they're not. However, so I thought I'm going to play like a half an hour show. After the one song, they stop us. I said 2.5 hours to play one song for 5 minutes, and I was really upset. All of a sudden, the back door opens, and 2 bodyguards carrying Brezhnev into the hall. If everybody tipsy, he is drunk, definitely. Wow. And he said, comrades, we all, how you call it, we all on the side of the jazz music, because jazz music, music was of deprived, he said different, but what he said, yes. I trusted African American population of United States, they deprive, that's why we, communists, like to give people opportunity to play the music of deprived. And I was totally upset after that. However, he said, and now we're going to see an American motion picture. Then my eyes brightened up. What American motion picture? And I was not too far from him. He said, Leonid Ilyich, which one? And he didn't know. So some help said, but of course, Bonnie and Clyde.
Oh, that's a great one.
All right. So did you tired listening me talking? Maybe I'll play something?
Yes, that would be great. Thank you.
A little introduction to this song. This is one of the few which is very serious. As I said, it's called Requiem for the Fallen. It's in dedication of memory of victim of 9/11, and that's very few, I would say, songs which not about love. A different kind of love. So let me play it.
speechless.
Uh,
I'm speechless.
Between me and you, it of course composed not for the electronic keyboard, but for the choir and kind of big jazz orchestra with the strings, of course. And then it will sound exactly the way I planned.
Wonderful. And then where is your next performance?
It will be at the Carnegie Club. It's July 13th, Friday. Friday the 13th, huh?
Oh.
Yes, and the show starts 9 o'clock. It will be like two shows of original materials, of course, standards, and it will be quartet, so it will be drums. I mean, it will be more jazz.
Oh, that's wonderful.
I mean, ballads, at least.
Wonderful. Do you know that we're almost out of time? We only have about 2 or 3 more minutes left of the show.
Last short one, maybe.
What's that?
Last short song with maybe with.
Do you want Angel to sing one more?
Yes.
Come on up, Angel.
Yeah. This is a song called "Then Carnival Was Gone" on my last trip between Venice and Buenos Aires, 2 capitals, Venice and Rio. This is capitals.
All right. So what I'm going to have you do is play, and we may just sign off as you're singing. So I don't want to interrupt you because the two of you together are just marvelous. And I'm just awestruck, and thank you so much for bringing your wonderful beauty and talents to my show.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you.
Yes. Look forward to you coming back.
This is a song of hope after love is gone. When the carnival was gone, like dreams, nothing left but memories of you, confetti and lost balloons, they're flying still. Why broken hearts, after all, would never heal? Why you never said goodbye, just left disappearing in the air. Ooh, since they're only lonely strangers wandering on empty streets in search of the missing carnival. The carnival is coming back. It doesn't matter what it takes to see the rainbow on a horizon. Gone, carnival is coming there to stay forever. Welcome back, long-awaited carnival was gone, and now return. Ooh, oh, yeah, ooh,
Thank you.
Prince.
Thank you.
And Queen Angel.
Yeah, Queen, definitely Queen.
Good night, everyone. Thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
joining us.
Thank you.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
Nice, very nice.
Wow. Is there anything else that you want to talk about, Igor?
Of course, you think I have no secrets from you. So you can ask me all kind of, all
Wow. The huh? Yeah. Okay. Fine. Yeah. That. Okay. Fine. Yeah. I'll give you a 5-second countdown, I guess. You know what I would like to know is some of the places that you've traveled, and you mentioned that. That you've played, I saw in your bio that you've played at the United Nations as well. So maybe one of your most memorable performances that you've traveled.
Well, when we're talking about United Nations, I'm talking United Nations in New York City. However, you don't have to travel from
you don't
New
have
York.
to travel outside of Manhattan, right?
If you're there and performing for different, let's say I perform for associations of journalists of United Nations. So I met everybody there. But I was lucky in the same time we have Yoko Ono on the same floor. So I said, I'm not going to miss just an opportunity just to introduce myself. I sneak because it was very private, close event. And so, but I managed. Yes, and I was like everybody's saying goodbye to Yoko Ono. I took her hand, I kissed her hand, and not letting her go. Said, it's such a pleasure to see a legend in person, not on TV screen. So, and I said, a present for you. She said, oh, I don't need anything. Yes, but not a material. This is a poem of 13 seconds. May I? And you know what she said? She said, shoot. Wow. So it was a reminiscence of the future, words for one of my songs. So do we have 13 seconds? I can do. Yes.
We have 5 minutes.
Yeah, reminiscence of the future. If you regret the past, you'll never see a better future. Will reminiscence of the future last or go? Whatever I do, whatever I know, I've seen horizons far beyond where sun replaced the moon and darkness died so soon. I've seen horizons far ahead, and yet every moment of my life I knew for certain I'll survive. Yes, I will now and until my death side. And life I thought for, and I will. If you regret the past, you'll never see a better future. Wow. She said, may I have it? And I said, but of course. And maybe I come back with her offer.
Wonderful.
Because she was offering to take my poetry. Oh. Interesting.
Very exciting, yeah.
So what else memorable? You remember I mentioned what I own a recording studio for more than 20 years, so I met all of the, not all of them, a lot of the stars, including Madonna, Cyndi Lauper, including Phyllis Hyman, and Mamas and Papas, and a lot of jazz giants like Ornette Coleman.
And this through your...
Through my studio, because I have...
Where's that located?
It was West 30th Street. It still does exist, different
sure.
people, because
If
if I've been in a studio, I wouldn't be here, I'm telling you, because as a shoemaker without shoes, you know, originally I wanted to have a studio for my projects, and this is not a glamour, this is business. That's what it is. So what story you would like to hear about whom? How I made a practical joke in my studio? That's something. Yeah. Okay, just to put a smile on your face. Once I have like a customers, they probably like NFL players. Mm-hmm. Armani suits, slick, and they say, we need 100 hours of studio time for our girlfriend. How much it will be and how it works. I can make a deal. I go to give me $5,000. I said, really? And that's very few in my business, even very wealthy people in the record company. They don't do like this. That's like on the spot. They put me in such a good mood, and then I just decided from the, spontaneously to crack a practical joke with my recording engineer, one of my clients. I said to this 6'5" athletes. That's the way we're going to do. You're going to pick me up to my, like, and kick the door open, put me like in the middle of control room, and wait for me. And it tells them, this is a hold up, don't move, shoot. And then when I show you, we finish this joke, sure enough, they did exactly the way I asked him to do. The problem was the ceiling in the control room wasn't that high. So when they threw me, I hit with my back the ceiling, and I dropped from the height of the ceiling to the hard wooden floor. But I kept my composure to the very end. I put such a face of horror. What my engineer, they really got scared. For the moment, they got pale because it looked real, for real. Who is in their mind ask someone to do? It was dangerous. That's what kind of practical joke. This true practical joke when it's improvised, not planned.
I'm actually studying improv comedy. And,
Okay.
it's really interesting to learn the techniques and
It's not easy. They think what you...
I had stage fright on our first performance.
Really?
Yeah, I did.
No. So that's what funny. Well, a lot of very serious things happens to me. But the way to get out of the difficult situation, similar situation, I'm sitting in the office and the control, another two athletes coming. And they say, we want a studio time. It's the only part what the same. When I ask them for the phone, I start to feel very cold and very steady, pushing on my temple. And my guess was right. It was a gun. And at that point, I have also legally, like I was a studio owner, but I knew I have no chance. So the best what I come up with the line, am I glad to see you folks? And they, in disbelief, look at me because I didn't show any fear. And I said, I just collected $2,500 and I just planned to go to the bank to deposit. Now you can do it for me. And they were laughing, and that's the way they left.
Did they take the money too?
Uh,
Did they take the money?
if I had no money, they would have shot me. That's the way it... Well, it's not probably not going to record this, or you recording.
It's too late. It's my material. No, I won't say it.
Yeah,
I
so,
won't release it,
no, I'm saying this is just... It's probably...
Different experiences.
Yeah, that's probably good, like for autobiography book, because if you write all that kind of situations, which is they funny, but they're not exactly funny, but that's what make book interesting, because and they put some humor around it. Then it's really because a lot of books, biography of friends of mine, musicians, they got good information, but it's not wet, it's dry. You see, so our song "Dry and Wet." Yeah, that's about it. So life, it's wet, no matter what. It's still alive.
Well, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for having me.